Welcome back. Adventures, life lesson, and some reflection. Today's adventure takes place in Portugal. The waves of Costa de Caparica, hope I got that name right, provided a golden opportunity for me to jump back on a surfboard, and I managed to stand up, which is a win in my books. I was amazed every day that I went out to the coast. The waves just kept rolling in. There were surfers out every day, regardless of the weather. The waves were incredibly consistent. One particular evening, I was looking out over the water, the sun was setting, there was a saxophone busker behind me playing. In the distance, I could hear the gulls clamoring over the day's catch as the fishermen came back in, and it was just an amazing scene to take in. Tasting pastel de nata, a custard tart, I was told was a must when visiting Portugal, and you can find them almost everywhere. But the most famous place, let me see if I can get this right, is Pastéis de BELÉM, and they have huge queues. I arrived and I thought, I'm not gonna be able to wait this long, but you can literally see as this massive queue gets processed every time, clearly a new batch of the tarts come out. So I tried there, tried at a bunch of other places. My favorite was actually from a shop at Time Out Market. The pastry just had a soft but still sort of delicious crunchy flavor, and the custard was just amazing, to die for. So one of the most interesting places that caught my eye when I was up in Lisbon was BELÉM Tower, just near the pastry place. And in and of itself, it's a pretty cool castle. I mean, just building a tower or a castle just off the coast is already pretty cool. So in and of itself, it's pretty awesome. But the first day that I visited it, they'd closed it. The tide was up high and the weather was a bit rough, and so the waves were coming in pretty hot and heavy, but there were already a whole bunch of people already at the castle that had to leave across the bridge coming back. And so this huge crowd, and I watched as all of these people basically ran the gauntlet coming out of the castle. Some were told by staff, and some had looked ahead and knew where the waves may or may not hit. Others were just caught completely unawares, and it was hilarious. Felt a bit sorry for some of them, but at least no one was hurt. Running across this, the gangplank, basically, to get back to mainland. Quite funny. So, life lesson. Well, one thing that I've been reminded of recently is there was a time in my life when I thought the world was going down the toilet. I basically thought that, I worried that everything that I knew was going to end up gone. That all of the bad news that I kept reading about was going to come true. And it's a really sucky way to live. I felt really unhappy during that period. But then even as I managed to eventually overcome that and find happiness within me, I still found that most people thought that bad news was on the rise, that bad things were going to happen to the world, that things weren't going to end well. And things hadn't been going well for the world recently. And it's a really sucky way to live. And then I read a book called Factfulness by a guy named Hans Rosling. And this gave me a whole new perspective on the world. Hans showed me how so many of the things that we want to see get better in the world, life expectancy and infant mortality and access to healthcare, access to electricity, all of these things have been getting better and better, not just over the last 100 years, but even in my lifetime, they've been getting better. And this enabled me to think, well, if they've not only been getting better, not only can I be happy about that, but also, hey, some of the things that we've been doing must be working. And if we can use those to work on some of the other problems that we want solved, we can maybe get somewhere. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as it were. I guess it's really easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of bad news that gets thrown our way, and people predicting the end on the slightest change of a statistic, or feel like some slight bump in the road is going to upend a long-running trend. But I would encourage you, take time to find what has been getting better in the world. Maybe not at the pace we want, but there are so many things that have been getting better and likely will continue to do so. And if you're not sure where to start, I'll I'll put the book that I recommended before, Factfulness by Hans Rosling, in the description, so you can go grab that if you want to have a read of it. It's a nice, easy read. I'd recommend it. As with most things in life, I owe a debt of thanks to many people, but there's one in particular I want to call out, and that is James Peters from Technobabble. James has taken the time to help me find the gear that I needed to do this. He's given me some of it. He has encouraged me along the way, and he has taken out of his own time to do the editing and find shots, all of the editing in fact, for every single one of these 6 videos. So thank you so much, James. I really appreciate it. So this is my 6th video, and I promised myself that I'd do 6. I hope that some of these videos brought a smile to your face or inspired you in some way. So you may not be hearing any more of me for a while. So, ciao.